Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My fiancée locked her phone and started drinking out with a coworker. I saw all the red flags, dumped her, and made her mom crying. Hi, first-time caller here. As with everyone else, my planned life was flipped upside down earlier this week. The crux of my question is it weird to want the whole truth and details from my ex? Should I just assume the worst? I know I can't trust any of the detail relayed, and they're not going to change anything. How do I shake this desire? My now ex Jenna and I met sophomore year in undergrad. I followed her to medical school. We had been together for almost 8 years this week. We had planned a wedding and huge honeymoon for May 2020, as this would be the time between school and residency. January 2020. We were as happy as ever. We had typical ups and downs, but nothing major. Our life goals were similar, our interests were similar. Our families were similar and loved by both of us. February 2020, Jenna went to a month-long elective course, essentially summer camp for medical students. It was her first time away from me for a significant amount of time. There was little cell service, but when I did hear from her, she sounded chipper and like she was making a lot of friends. I started to get nervous, though, when she told me how much she was drinking. Up until this camp, she rarely drank, and in the 6 years together, I had only seen her drunk a few times. She was drunk more than a few times at this camp, including one blackout-type night. With this weird behavior and probably some personal insecurity, I started having panic attacks worrying about her cheating on me. There was nothing from our past that would make me feel that way. She was just acting out of the ordinary with the extra drinking that my mind thought the worst. March 2020. Jenna got home from camp the last day of February. She seemed excited to be home, and we had some of the best sex I had had in years that first week back, but it felt strange. She had this weird sexual energy I hadn't seen for years. She was doing things she had never done in bed before. I joked at one point and said, "Who taught you this at camp?" and she wigged out on me. She also started criticizing me more. A few things about my appearance, a few things in bed. I had never heard her even think these things before. April and May 2020. Our wedding got COVID canceled, our vacation got COVID canceled, our final fun steps of medical school got COVID canceled. We moved out of our apartment together and back to our individual parents' houses because our lease was up and we were expecting to move for residency. It was a tough period. We rescheduled the wedding for September 2020. We celebrated our expected wedding day. We even talked about getting courthouse married. During this time apart, I felt like Jenna had started pulling away from me a bit and was being more distant, including a trip to North Carolina to meet up with some of her new camp friends. I was not invited, and this wasn't the first time either of us had really disinvited another on a vacation. June 2020, we went house shopping and bought a house together. When we were together, I noticed that passwords had been changed on her phone. Alarms started going off in my head with all of the previous information combined, but she assured me nothing was wrong. Her camp friends just thought it was weird that I had unlimited access to her phone, and that level of non-privacy is controlling. I was also told that she just didn't know herself anymore and that I was smothering her. She also lamented the fact that there were no fireworks between us, no electricity anymore, and that she was just not sexually attracted to me. July 2020. We closed on the house and moved in. We had a few long talks this month. It felt like she was being coached by one of her new friends, saying I was controlling and paranoid, things she had never said or felt before. We had a bridal shower for our rescheduled wedding date at the end of the month. Jenna didn't want to sleep, literally, in the same bed with me. I didn't understand why our relationship was torpedoing so fast. August 2020, at the end of the month, Jenna told me she thought her and I should take a break. I had a meltdown. Our relationship had seriously dwindled between April and August. We weren't communicating well. We pretty much stopped having sex completely. She stopped wearing her engagement ring. I chalked it up to all the tumult in our lives. Wedding canceled, wedding 2 canceled, honeymoon canceled, we bought a house, and she started the most stressful period of her life, residency, September 2020. My mental health took a turn for the worst. I started thinking about nothing but keeping Jenna happy. I worked on the new house and yard nonstop, putting my remote job on the back burner. She stopped wanting to be touched at all by me. She started staying out late with coworkers. I'm talking getting home at 3-4 a.m. with near zero communication and smelling like alcohol. October 2020. We went on vacation together for the first time. It was more stressful than fun. When we got back, I finally told a friend and my parents what was going on. Everyone was weirded out. I told them everything in here and more, and I said I think she's cheating. My mom said she was treating me like a roommate rather than partner. It was true. I finally sat her down and said either she was in or out. I wasn't her roommate, and if we're together, she has to wear her ring. November, December 2020. We had sex about once a month since moving into the new house. Late December, she had to quarantine and essentially kicked me out of the house. I abided. The relationship was essentially plateaued at the low point. January, February 2021. Beginning of January, we had another fight after she got home late from a party with her coworkers. She told me she would be home by 8 p.m. and there was no reason for me to come. That got pushed back and back until one text where she asked if she could stay the night. She was also drinking heavily at the party again. By early February, to Jenna's dismay, I signed us up for relationship counseling. She didn't really want to participate, but did because I asked. After the first session, she pretty much said she didn't like the counselor. We each did one individual session and 2 joint. Jenna also took a vacation to Florida, driving 1,000 miles herself each way by herself in a week. She didn't want me to come. March, June 2021, our relationship is on the mend. She seemed happier on a daily basis. We got into a good groove of life together again. I started individual therapy because the fall/winter relationship issues had sent me into a spiral. I started to trust her again. She seemed to be talking to her camp friends less and was more invested in our relationship. She never left the house without her engagement or wedding band. This was true previous months since October, but it became more obvious/consistent. We were gelling as a team again. I started feeling comfortable leaving her/the house for long weekends when she was working. Previously, I had convinced myself she would go out partying if I went away for a weekend, so I would keep an unfairly close eye on her. This week, I went on a long weekend trip with my parents. Tuesday morning, I overheard a conversation with a guy from the February 2020 camp. It was not a normal conversation. Jenna was drinking, sounded a little tipsy, but definitely not drunk, and was flirting her butt off. She sounded like the instigator. She talked about a secret meetup in the beginning of August and the skimpy clothes she wore. She talked about the other times they met up. She talked about next February going back to the same camp again and asked this guy if it was okay if she came, saying, "Are you worried because you don't trust me, or you don't trust yourself?" Another great line from Jenna was, "I want to see you restrained when you really want something because I have a feeling I'm going to be blown away impressed by it. Can't wait till February." So she emotionally cheated on me at the very least, leaving me in the dust in one of the most important years of our life in terms of transitions, and gaslighted me into trusting and continuing to love/provide for her. All the puzzle pieces fit. The relationship tanking, specifically when they were talking the most. Her wanting to break up at the end of August right after they met up. The weird I want to drive 2,000 miles by myself to Florida in February. I don't know what to believe and I want as many details as I can get, but I don't know why. I know I can't trust the ones given and don't think they will change anything. How do I shake this feeling?